Welcome back, everyone, to Talking Markets. My name is Trevor. I'm here joined with Brian. Brian, how are you doing today?
Great to see you, Trevor. I'm doing well. It's been kind of a wobbly week where we've gone up and then down and then back up again. And now there's a lot of news that's kind of shaking the markets once again, right?
Definitely. Let's get into that. So, the Federal Reserve met on Wednesday, and they also held their key interest rate. So, it's pretty much just steady right now. But the good thing is that they're actually saying that there's going to be multiple cuts coming in 2024 and beyond. So, honestly, it looks like, interest rates are going to just go on the steady decline, which is going to be great, obviously, for the markets. Now, in other news, I also wanted to talk about this. This just came out just about 2 hours ago, as of this recording right now. So there was a security issue in Ledger Connect Kit in their library affecting multiple dApps. So this just came out, and it looks like a lot of people. There was some funds that were lost. It looks like around at least $150,000 has actually been lost. But Ledger tweeted out and they basically said that they have since fixed the issue. So it looks like there's going to be a full detailed report on that coming soon, but this is definitely a big issue that came out today. In other news, JP Morgan says Ether will likely outperform Bitcoin next year. And it seems like they're obviously just completely bullish on ETH. But what I find interesting about this is that just in 2022, the CEO of JP Morgan stated, I'm a major skeptic on crypto tokens, which you call currency like Bitcoin. They're decentralized Ponzi schemes. So, just in 2022, JP Morgan was, quite anti crypto, but it looks like now they're not just bullish on Bitcoin, but it looks like they're even saying that Ether is going to outperform Bitcoin in the next year. So I thought that was kind of interesting. In other news, the SEC serves suit to evasive Richard Hart in Finland, but not in person. So the SEC has sued Hart in July, alleging that he made over $1 billion selling Hex and also Pulse Chain, which the agency claimed were unregistered securities. So it also claimed that Hart defrauded investors in the US and overseas by misappropriating at least $12 million of their funds. So yeah, this was just another news. It looks like Hex and Richard Hart always seems to be in the news, at least once or twice a month, it always seems like. Anyways, off to you, Brian.
Yeah, he's certainly a hot topic, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out. I know he's pretty. He doesn't like to disclose where he lives and where his residence may be at any given time. So who knows what that's going to entail? And I'm sure a lot of people on both sides of Richard Hart and what they think about him are going to be tuning in for that. So looking forward to that, and thanks for bringing up the dApp topic as well. We actually addressed it in our own Discord on Sentiment and mentioned how our own dApp named SanR, where you can make mock trades and follow along with other people, that has not been affected in any way. So quick plug on that on the Sentiment end. Um, but be careful out there if you have money on various dApps right now. And thanks for the warning on that, Trevor. All right, and looking at the past 24 hours here, we're seeing that a lot of coins are gaining in value once again after the big dump that kind of started over the weekend, bled into Monday. Uh, and it appears that for now, markets are going back in the right direction. A few notables here would be Injective. You can see Solana is actually up 7% in the past 24 hours. Immutable X, Internet Computer, both double-digit returns. SATS, interestingly, has jumped into the top 100. I don't know enough about it because it's a very recent entry onto this list, but it's been surging for quite a while now. And then we have Ordi, I guess the two different Ordis, Ordi and Ordinals, which are an airdrop token associated with the Solana network that has been doing very well. Speaking of altcoins in general, I wanted to bring this up. So we made this discovery and posted it on Twitter yesterday /X. The mention of altcoins or even alt season, alt market, whatever you want to call it, we saw a huge frequency of mentions back on December 5th/6th, depending on your time zone. And that essentially marked the top. Arguably, there was one final leg up here, and then we saw prices drop back down. But this is really a reflection of greed and how markets tend to top out when you see people talking about more speculative assets and do a lot better when you hear that people are afraid to get into those speculative assets. It's the whole um, mantra that we have at Santiment, which is markets tend to go the direction that the crowd least expects, and when they're fearful, prices tend to go up. When they're greedy, prices tend to go down. No surprise there. And we can also mention that from a mathematical perspective, there is still quite a bit of overbought and semi-overbought signals here. You can see Bitcoin here in the semi-overbought range, and then there are a lot of different overbought signals for assets that have been on a big surge over the last couple of months. Um, I see Loom being one exception because I know it had a big like August or September and then it cooled off as everything else was surging. So um, despite that anomaly, most of these assets here look like they're at a more risky point than usual, according to just the average returns of investors right now, particularly on the midterm time range from like the past week to the past 3 months or so. And I also want to mention whales right now. We are seeing a drop in Bitcoin just slightly. Sharks and whales have been taking profits since December 6th. Not much, though. I think it looks fairly healthy in terms of the supply held. What looks a little more concerning is the fact that Tether is being dropped and USD coin kind of has been going both directions, but it's dropped once again in the last couple of days. So there is a little less buying power in these shark and whale wallets compared to what we were seeing 2-3 months ago. Um, so that's a bit of a concern to me in terms of future market performance. Doesn't mean we can't continue to see pumps, and Bitcoin still could possibly hit 45K and beyond on this recent rally, but there are a few things working against it, and we always like to look at sharks and whales as one of the primary signals out there. It's also worth mentioning that the S&P 500 is continuing to make a run here, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are actually correlating quite closely with it. You can see, especially since about mid-November, about a month ago, the S&P in teal and this bright green representing Bitcoin, they climb quite closely together during this rally, and they're close to their 3-month highs, respectively. The S&P, of course, is at, if I go back to a year, yeah, it's at a year high. Might even be beyond that. No, it's getting close to its 2-year high, which was back in January of 2022. But you can see, there's been a few key points of separation. This was the FTX collapse, where Bitcoin and Ethereum and many markets crashed, while the S&P went up and gold went way up. And then eventually, we saw the S&P go on a big run, while Bitcoin made a bit of a recovery. And of course, just from like late October to early December, that's when Bitcoin had its big run up to kind of catch up mathematically to what the S&P had been doing over the past year. So I see it as pretty correlated right now, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Ideally, we want to see Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of crypto kind of moving in their own directions and not relying on stock sectors in order to move up or down. People referencing Bitcoin as just an asset that performs the same way a high leveraged tech stock would. That's not what we want to see. We want to make sure that it's fluctuating independently in its own sector without influence from the government, because that's kind of the point of crypto, as an asset that has its own governance and own ability to move without real world reliance. I think
I
those are,
wonder, I wonder with the involvement with institutions, how that's going to change in the future with that
me too.
correlation.
Yeah, there definitely could
It's
be
going to be
some
interesting to
shakeups.
see.
Right, right. And we will definitely keep you posted as that news comes out. So, yeah, I think, these final couple weeks of the year, they might be a little dicey. I do think it's good news. Uh, as you mentioned, Trevor, about the interest rates staying put, and I guess some hinting that it would be reduced in early 2024. That's going to be a good thing for stocks, obviously. And if there's still going to be correlation between stocks and crypto, as there evidently is right now, crypto could benefit from that as well, just as they got hurt by the interest rate hikes throughout 2022 and early 23. I want to wish everyone a good weekend coming up here, and we look forward to catching up with you again next week.
So, you guys, we'll talk next week.
Take care.